Hello everybody and welcome to this Planet Zoo tutorial video where I am going to show you 8 tips in 8 minutes for franchise mode. This list of tips and tricks is in no particular order, and at number 8 we have got getting the correct starting layout. For new Planet Zoo players or people just getting into franchise mode, it is very important to get the correct layout to propel your franchise zoo into success. A lot of people do struggle in literally starting the zoo and knowing where to start. When you open your franchise zoo, it will look like this, just vast emptiness. And we want to turn it into something like this. I would suggest pathing out your areas first. So you want somewhere where to put your food stalls, somewhere where you're going to put your habitats, and I would keep your staff facilities close to the entrance to utilise the power output what you already get with your entrance. You can see all the facilities in fact, and when I do put my habitats down, will be powered by the initial power you get for free. This saves you $5,000 because you don't have to place another power source. Start with building your starting layer out first and you should be good to go. There's loads of other little tips and tricks I can give you with the starting layout, such as making your paths thick enough and wide enough so your guests do not get congested. It does happen and it can be a pain in the ass. But if you do want a full starting layout guide step by step, I've got one. I'll link it in the description below. At number 7, we've got to work smart, not hard. And what I mean by this is figure out ways to work faster and to work easier when building stuff, especially at the start. You can see here this habitat what I have created. I've not used the in-game barriers, I've used building pieces and it's much more easier. Give you a demonstration. Everything you see here is on the same grid, which makes it much more easier to build stuff. And that grid is the grid what's initially down on the starting area, your entrance to your franchise zoo. So if I go into the construction tab and I go onto building pieces, we'll go onto a wall what goes onto the grid. Let's just set any wall, set this wall, the Arctic wall. Now when I hover over this, you will see select group 2 to add to. So if I left click on this, it will add this piece now to this group. Yeah? Understand? So anything I build, anywhere on the, if I zoom right out, anywhere I build this, it will be on that same grid of what your entrance building grid is on, which makes things a hell of a lot more easier, especially when building the starting habitats like this. And that's all I've done here. Instead of using in-game barriers, I've literally gone round and I've just placed wall pieces. These are plaster pieces all the way around, and exactly the same with the paths. I'll just go out the grid and I'll show you the same. You go onto path, you click on align to grid on the bottom right here, and then you hover over the starting building like that, and it will add it to the same grid. So everything you see here, the path and the buildings on the same grid, making everything fit and everything easier to create. You can see my habitat gate is here, so let's click on it. And you see I've used null barriers all the way around the edge. Let's go on edit barrier and I'll show you. Let's select it all, and you can see I've just ran the null barrier through the actual wall pieces, and this piece here is the glass barrier, which will be the viewing area. Now you can even add window building pieces out of the construction tab, and your guests will still look in and treat it as a viewing area. And remember, if you don't like the look of something, do not worry. Your main objective at starting your franchise zoo is to get money and conservation credits. Once you've got these, you can just go back and redo everything if you really wish. Don't focus on how things look at the start, and build smart rather than hard. At number 6, we've got quite an obvious one and quite a quick one, and it's education. Education in your zoos is very important. Make sure you have multiple education points for one habitat, or a large education point like you see here for a habitat. And make sure your donation boxes are in. The more educational effect you have on your guests, the more they will donate. If you want to see your coverage for education, go into heat maps on the bottom left and select guest education coverage, and this will show where your education points are and the kind of coverage they have for your guest. Next up, let's talk about keeping your animals happy with animal privacy and one-way glass. Now other stuff like your enrichment items is quite obvious, but not a lot of people know that a lot of the animals in Planet Zoo need a lot of privacy. And there's two ways to do this. So if you go into barrier, you will see one-way glass here. But bear in mind, you will have to research this first. So if you've not done it already, go into your mechanics research hub, and under barriers, this is how you will get it. There is one-way glass at number 5. Now there is another way to do this. If we go in the construction tab, we type in glass and we scroll down to the bottom, you will finally see one-way glass here. Now these are different variants of different sizes of one-way glass. Now this can make it much easier to create habitats with, especially if you're following my last point of using construction pieces rather than habitat barriers. You can just slide this in any construction pieces where there's gaps and you will have a one-way glass privacy effect for your animals. So you now know how to keep your animals happy through the privacy elements. But what animals do we choose? Well, at number 4 is starting animals. You need to pick smaller ticket animals like these, the tortoises, which are going to create revenue but not cost too much. And you want animals what breed quite often, because you're going to sell these, whether it be for conservation credits or money. It all adds up into making your zoo successful. And obviously you need to be getting exhibit animals early on. I would suggest 2 different types of animals and then 2 different types of exhibit animals. These bring in a lot of guests, a lot of donations, and they will breed like crazy, meaning you can sell them on like crazy, adding to even more money funds for your zoo. Number 3, we've got work zones. Now you find out how important work zones are in the career mode, so if you've not really played through the career mode, do so. Work zones for your staff is very important when running a zoo, especially when it gets larger like a zoo like this. Now, work zones, so let's go into them. We want to go into zoo, we want to go under staff, and then we want to go to work zones here. And now you'll see the work zones what are already set up. Obviously in your franchise zoo you won't have any of these. You can easily delete them here on the right hand side, and then you'll see the staff members what are in them and how many different areas they're covering. Now to set up a new work zone, you go on your unassigned staff, you go and create a new work zone, and then you can basically tick whatever you want, or you can just hold left mouse and drag over an area. So if I want a zookeeper to focus on these 2 habitats and the cleaners to focus on these facilities, I will create this work zone and then put those said cleaners and those said zookeepers in this work zone. You can name it whatever you want, and that's how you create work zones, and it's very, very important. And now I said this is kind of like a 2-in-1 deal here, 2 points in one. The second is having enough facilities in your work zones, especially keepers huts. Now to keep track what facilities you have, you want to go into buildings on the heat maps, and then you want staff facilities, and this will show all your staff facilities, which is a handy way to keep track of them. Now I would suggest a keeper's hut per habitat. So you have a habitat like this, make sure you put a keeper's hut at the side of it, and it will help maintain your animals better and give everything they need. Playing games in general is all about having fun, so if you're not having fun, don't play it. Just be patient, don't get too stressed, and make sure you know you're saving up. And what I mean by that is you build a habitat and you just press fast forward, and you can just sit there. Go AFK if you want, go and do something on another screen you might have, maybe do something on your phone. Let your finances build up before building anything else. And obviously saving up, saving time and being patient works so well when playing franchise mode. And that concludes the videos. 8 tips in 8 minutes for franchise mode in Planet Zoo. My name's Adam. If you're new around here, then hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if it did help in any way, and I will catch you in the next Planet Zoo video.